Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. My name's Linda. I'm your trauma recovery coach, and welcome to From Recovery to Remission. It's absolutely wonderful to be here with you this morning. We had a massive celebration for our 300th live filming on Facebook yesterday, and we've been talking about our inner critic all week. So if you're here this morning, say good day. And I just need a sip of coffee because it's been a massive week. Sorry, girls. Now, read the free workbook. If you've had a bit of a challenge, don't stress. I'm going to fix it as soon as I get off here this morning. And it'll be in your inbox. I could say there's been a computer error, but there absolutely has been a computer error, but mainly because of human error and doing things late at night. So the file will be with you, and I will add some extra pages in for you as well. If you've been doing some inner critic work, let me know. And because we all love to be able to share and relate to each other as to what's happening. Good morning, girls, or good evening for you. It's wonderful to have you with me. I was sitting down last night and looking through all the information around abandonment, depression, around inner critic, and how we can put it all together into some infographics. Good afternoon, Diana. And so that when I put it into infographics, it'll make a lot of sense. So here's what I did to start off this morning. If I can just grab one. I've got all these pieces of paper to show you this morning, and I realised that you won't be able to see them if you're on a mobile, but they'll be in this week's ebook, okay? Okay, but first of all, I wanted to talk to you about how if we were to go and Google inner critic and how to recognise it and, what are we looking for, it doesn't help us with complex PTSD. So everyone has an inner critic, or that voice that says, a lot of negative stuff about who we are, what we're doing, or, it's that thought process in our head that's always seemingly on our case that we need to do better. And as per Monday's list of 7 types of inner critics, we know that, there's a few floating around in there. So common critical inner voices include things like you're ugly, you're stupid, you're fat, there's something wrong with you, you're different from other people, and it will tell you things like, identify your inner critic, which is something that we do. It says separate from your inner critic, respond to your inner critic, and don't act on your inner critic. And when I read those steps, I went, man, that's just so not going to work for us at all, because how we process through life is totally different to what happens for others. Now, let me just grab the first diagram. Now, this first diagram goes with that kind of thinking, or that way of processing thoughts, which is normal for people who haven't experienced complex trauma. So their normal thought process is they have a thought, they have emotions, and then act on the thoughts and emotions, right? That doesn't happen for us with complex PTSD. Let me show you what happens for us with complex PTSD. And you're going to go, oh, finally, someone understands, because I know I went, finally, we have the information. Because our body, our memories, the trauma memories that overwhelm affect us at a biological level, right? Physiological level. We start at the emotions, right? It creates behavior. Now, our emotions generate our thoughts, not our thoughts to emotions. The reason why I've got that our thoughts are cut off is because our prefrontal cortex isn't engaged. I'm wondering if mine is this morning. It's like, why can I not put this in order? How apt is that this morning things aren't coming out sequentially, one thing after another in my brain? It's like, come on, I know this work. But this is what it's like when our prefrontal cortex is not fully engaged. It's hard to put things in an order. It's hard. Let me just move this over here for you. It's hard for us to be able to make sense of things or be absolutely like, this is what's happening to me. Okay? Because our autonomic nervous system is stuck on freeze. Now, I'd put the picture away from yesterday for our autonomic nervous system, which runs from right at the top all the way down through our body and our organs, okay, and all into this part of our face, and it's on freeze. So it's supposed to, the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems are supposed to work together. One sends stuff up, one sends stuff down. But when it's on freeze and all our organs are on freeze, think of all the health complications from that. Oh my goodness. It's just amazing when we begin to think about it. So our emotions are on high alert at a subconscious level, and we get triggered and we're just so back into that state automatically, because from the very first instance, our whole body and our biology, our physiology is so used to just going there like that to keep us safe. Okay? It's our internal warning system that's on all the time to keep us safe. So we have to be able to look at our inner critic just a wee bit differently. Good morning, Claire. So how do we identify our inner critic if we're going to look at it from the perspective of we've been triggered, all right, and we need to be able to have a different way of identifying it for us? So we need to begin the process of feeling safe. So use your mindfulness exercises, and if anyone hasn't got the book yet, I promise it'll be there ASAP after this Facebook Live. There was human error involved in the file not being attached. It's coming. But we do need to bring our awareness into our reality here and now. And the first level of that is being okay with feeling that our whole system is afraid. The challenge for us is that it doesn't make sense as an adult. So we're going, but why am I, well, I know for me, I'm just like, why am I afraid in this situation as an adult? There's no reason to be. But whatever the sensory input is, it's wired into us from a long time ago, and it goes off, and it starts at this really subconscious level and deep unconscious level in the primitive part of the brain as well, and we have no choice when it goes off. What we do have a choice of is beginning to affirm that I am safe. So not only am I safe externally, but I'm safe internally, all right? And we begin to feel and change our feelings, consciously change them around to I am safe, and use your breath work to help you get that deep feeling of I am safe, all right? And we also teach ourselves that we are safe to feel our emotions. And one of the predominant ways I have done this for myself is journaling every single night so that I could identify what my emotions actually were. Sorry, I'll just stick an emotional wheel into your mindfulness book as well, and I'll leave it up for another 24 hours just in cases. So step 2, we want to feel comfortable listening to what our inner critic is saying. So don't push it away. It's very challenging to go, right, I am safe to feel how critical I am of myself. And one of the things that we can do, and especially with sexual abuse, okay, one of the things we can do is learn to dissociate. So this is why from what normal people do, which is separate from their inner critic, won't work for us, because when we dissociate, it means that we're not in reality. We find it easier than other people do to separate from things and numb things down, because we have to learn this process of feeling safe and feeling safe to bring those emotions into the here and now. Okay? Really, good morning, catch up. And when we can do that and not separate from it, we begin to hear what the inner critic is saying loud and clear. And one of the things that the inner critic definitely can trigger is abandonment depression, which is what we talked about last week. In last week's series of videos was about all the different aspects of depression, and as it related to abandonment depression as well. So we want to be aware of what the inner critic's saying. We want to feel what's happening, and then we want to step in as the adult and be the voice of reason and truth for us in this particular moment. Okay? We want to understand the dynamics of what the inner critic is saying to us as well. It's never easy, all right? It is never easy to do this work. I want to be really clear about how it's not easy, okay? But it's worth it. And also, some people are really challenged by the concept of talking to either a professional or somebody that they know as a safe friend about this stuff. And we need to be able to talk about this, because we need other adults who are validating what we're feeling as well. We don't do this stuff alone, all right? It just doesn't work on our own. And as I've said before, I have 3 very close friends who I can ring up and say, this is the process that's happening to me at this moment. I've identified this. I just need to talk this out loud, and then I will be able to go away and do the one next thing. I also have a friend who's a professional in the area, and I can go and speak to her. And a number of other people that are also on board, and I do not do this alone. I know you just see me, but I do not do my journey alone, and I don't want any of you doing it alone, okay? Because it is too hard, takes too long, takes, let's just say at a conservative guess, twice as long to do it on your own. We are not designed to do life on our own. And the one thing that all of complex trauma tries to do at a subconscious level is isolate us. All right, and especially when we're doing inner critic work, it can make us feel like we need to go off and be isolated. And we've got to act in the opposite way. And the truth is, we need each other. Together we can, all right? When we understand what the inner critic is saying to us, or we understand the process of thoughts that the inner critic is bringing up in us. So one of the most simplest things I came across for me was that I sat here the other day and I'm like, which book will I write? And as I'm having the thought process of which book will I write, as in I've got a number of books on the go that I'm writing, all of a sudden the depression trigger went off and I went, right, That's an unresolved memory in my amygdala, our emotional center. And I went, I need to understand the dynamics of this. And I realized, whilst the thoughts weren't the same, it's the same thought process I would have had as a child, that I'm having this constant backwards and forwards, like, like a proverbial tennis match in our mind. And when I was a child, think about the subject of trust. Can I trust them this time? Can't I trust them? So when I'm going back as a child in that proverbial tennis match and having to ignore it and suppress it and not identify with it, then of course it's an unresolved memory in my amygdala, in my body, in my physiology, my biology, and it's going to trigger me as an adult. The difference is, as an adult, I now have a whole process in place that when the trigger goes off, I know what I need to do to resolve it. And it's just brilliant. I'm being real happy. It's like the Energizer Bunny. Do you have the Energizer Bunny ads where you are, where the bunny, goes around and around and it's never ending? Well, that's what the buzz feels like when you get to this place, and it's like, yes, I'm getting on top of this. It's like, oh wow, it's amazing. Okay, so our step 4 is we want to consciously change up how we're feeling. So even though our emotions might be full of fear and they're coming from within, we want to know ourselves well enough that we can change up how we're feeling so that we can stop. So we go, stop, I don't want to go down those same old roads before. I want to be focused and centered on who I am, where I'm going, and what I want to do. Okay? So we literally want to turn our circumstances and our feelings around so that our prefrontal cortex can come back on board and we get our executive functioning back on board and we're able to move out of the trigger, all right? And it's running through our entire body. So it's not going to happen in a matter of moments when we begin to work with it, but later on down the track, it definitely does begin to turn around, okay? As I really can't emphasize enough that this is hard work. It's not something that we were taught to do. It's not something that we've even had the information for until recent times, okay? And I'm only just putting all this together so that we can be amongst the first people that are getting this happening for us. You're not allowed to give yourself a hard time anymore. But what you are allowed to do is recognize when you're giving yourself a hard time and put it into a process of building an awareness around what you're feeling in your body, what your mind's saying, how every one of your senses is on alert, and how to bring it all into your here and now. And that's what the mindfulness book will help you do as well, is bring it all into the here and now so that you can begin to go, I am safe to feel my way through this. I am safe for the emotional energy to run through me. And when we do that, our hippocampus, which is it's like our file folder of all our memories stored away, begins to store away all of this stuff, and we don't ever have to go back to these places again. All right, we do heal, we do become more well, and we do reach a stage where the adrenaline and the cortisol are back to normal levels and running really effectively for us. Okay? Thanks, girls, for joining in this morning. I really love and appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope this helps you on your journey this week. I will have all of those infographics are done and ready to go in the book for this week, and it will be released on time this week, I promise. And I'm also going to include all the work that we did last week into the book so that we can run through it. And remember, all of this stuff keeps us from being focused in who I am, all right? And we want to be focused in who I am in the here and now. You're more than welcome, Rachel. Everyone, have a good day, and check your inbox in the next about half an hour and your book will definitely be there. Thanks for joining in, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow morning. Bye for now.